What's up,
What?
fanboys and fangirls? Welcome back to another episode of the What the Fanboys Show.
And with TV talk, again, finally.
We're starting off this episode with TV talk. Yes, good catch, Luke. We'll be reviewing The Flash momentarily, but before then, we need to get in and talk about Marvel's newest TV show, the latest and greatest, full of AI and CGI and
taking over the news.
Let's just...
something else.
I feel like that's a great starting point.
Luke,
Go
ahead.
Listen, I've watched the episode, or even just the credits, and I was like, wow, those credits were not very good. Only to find out the next day that they're AI. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, this explains...
That tracks.
This explains a bit.
What a dumb decision. And they're saying it's not taking away people's jobs. That is literally what some people's jobs are, is to do credits. It's always in the credits, be like, opening credits by boo 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 boo, ending credits by boo 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 boo. Like, you literally took away some poor sap's job.
My current theory is that much like the visual effects artist shortage, they're taking away jobs, but they're taking away jobs that would just burn out artists anyways. So it's still a production house that's producing the credits, right? There's just probably less people on it, and I think
Somebody's got to type those prompts.
there's a bit of a double-edged sword there, where
Nick Fury is surrounded by green.
it's definitely taking away some jobs.
Dude, I'll be honest.
They're not jobs that were probably allocated in the first place, which is why they can say it didn't take away.
Having
jobs.
played around with AI art, the whole time I was watching those, I was like, what did they type to get this? I'm very curious. Who wrote this prompt?
Nick Fury surrounded by green. Eiffel Tower surrounded by green.
Awkward handshake.
Look, the only way,
Weird looking face.
and I know this may not appease everyone,
Surrounded by green.
but the way that I think this is more acceptable to me is how Corridor Crew did it, which is frame by frame going in and you're doing all that motion capture, you're doing all of the hard work, and then you're just running it through an AI as a pass through to get a certain look. I think that's more acceptable. I'm not sure it's less or more morally acceptable.
I feel like in a time where everybody is when artists are extremely worried about AI, it wasn't the time to do it.
No. Yeah, that is true, and I feel like I'm coming off as a defender here.
You're an AI apologist.
I'm
We
an
get it, bro.
AI apologist.
Wow.
He's a robot.
Have you heard the good news of our AI overlords? No, not yet. Well, let me
Is
tell
that
you.
the prompt you're typing into AI? Just type that in and see what you get.
It was the wrong time to do it. I would agree that it was the wrong time.
That's part of the writer's strike right now.
Yeah.
So now VFX crews are gonna go on strike because they're worried about AI as well.
Yeah.
Great. We're never gonna get another movie unless it's an AI beer commercial with people don't have hands.
Well, there's a news story a little later.
It just sunk in what you were saying.
There's a
AI
news
beer
story a little
commercial.
later that is gonna make you even more depressed, Luke. So
Great.
But enough about the credits, the intro.
The actual show.
What do you guys think about the actual show? We talked about the first big trailer came out right around I want to say it was the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
And we were all like, "Oh wow, this actually looks
Good.
promising." Does episode 1 deliver on that promise in your mind?
Promising? No. Encouraging? Yeah. For me. I didn't watch it and go, ooh, I don't like where this is headed. I kind of just watched it and I was like, I'm okay with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested. That's where I landed on it.
I just hope this is the worst episode. Because I don't think it's bad. But I don't really think it's good. It just, for me, my big thing is I was confused for a lot of it. I felt like I was starting on episode 3. They're talking about people who have died, and I don't know who they are, and I think they've been in Marvel. Like with Talos' wife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember her.
Yeah, I was confused by that too.
They're with Olivia Colman's character too, and I think she's good, and they're giving all this history in between them. Like we've seen conversations between them, and they've run missions together, which is fine. They probably have history,
Right.
but I don't have the context for that. And I was like, conversations kept happening. I was just like, okay, I guess I just have to roll with that.
And where was her flat?
I'm assuming in London because she's British.
No, but they're in Russia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the whole entire
The
show's
whole
in
episode's
Russia.
in Russia.
Yeah.
In Moscow.
Right.
Within like walking to, because Fury's whole thing is like, oh no, like they don't need to drop me off. I'll just walk back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I agree with that. Where there was a lot of things where I was like, did I miss this? It's been a while. We're calling back to a lot of things I don't remember.
And like, I think that's bad now. When we actually get to episode 3, it could be like, oh, okay, I know what's going on. There could be a flashback episode or something. I just don't know if it's a good way to start. And like, you just start and just like, and Fury's just back.
There's a lot going on with A, setting up the story, B, reminding everyone that anyone could be anyone else. Like, that's always like, there's a reason why Mission Impossible uses that trope sparingly, and it's because it can get really, really confusing.
But at the same time, I feel like they're not doing that well, because when somebody's comes into play, they're almost immediately revealed to be a Skrull.
Mm-hmm.
Each time.
Yeah, it's a different. They're doing it differently. That's for sure.
And
Agreed.
I feel like they need to. They should have saved some of those maybe for later. So you get to episode 6 and you're just like, what?
Well,
I actually started to trust them.
Who's the big one? Right? That's the.
It's Olivia Colman.
It's Olivia Colman. Definitely is Olivia Colman.
But like the Martin Freeman reveal, like, I feel like that could have been held off till later. And I'm worried they're just gonna be like, who's this? It's a Skrull. Here's a new character. They're not a Skrull. They're dead.
Well, even in the finale of this episode, where it's like in the crowd and the Skrull is just shifting constantly.
Yeah.
Gravik is his name.
Yes.
Yeah, it loses. To me, it lost a little bit of its. Splendor isn't the right word, but
the magic of it.
There's some magic of it, right? Yeah. And instead of it being like this thing that it's a big deal, it's like it just
constant.
happens. It's a constant thing.
It's also, I think, they ruined the surprise earlier in the episode when the little girl's playing outside at night and the ball goes out in the alley and you're like, Skrull.
Yeah,
it's just felt way too obvious, and you see her later and you're just like, yep, okay.
Look,
well, I think that was kind
we're
of
doing
point,
a lot of
right?
speculation here on whether or not this kind of how they're revealing Skrulls pays off. I would say, like, traditionally how all of us think about espionage, this doesn't feel right. That said, this could be a very different kind of genre feel by the time we get to episode 3, and maybe it makes more sense for the story they're telling. But I think it's fair to say right now, it was a little bit of a what confusion moment for.
Well, and like I think what makes it more confusing too is like when you're in the worst named place ever, New Skrullos or whatever. When you're there, they're talking about like staying in the human form so that you can stay more connected. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. I like it. Way to save money on makeup and CGI. I get it. And then they're like, you got Gravik who's changing constantly, and you're like, so who's he actually connected to?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does this even mean? Like, so I think like the mystery of who's a Skrull, who's not a Skrull, think for me the mystery is more around Gravik and who he's connected to.
Yeah.
Like that's the mystery I'm interested in this season.
Olivia Colman.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's what I'm putting all my
That's
money
your Ray
into.
as a clone this time around?
All
I
the
still
chips
think
are in
Ray's a
that
clone.
basket.
The other thing that I didn't like was the end. They went with the classic fridging, which is just honestly really annoying.
The classic what?
Fridging?
Fridging?
It is a trope where a character is killed to give our main character something to fight, like usually fight, like now I can go get the serial killer because now it's personal. It's like, was the bombs not going off enough?
Earth being threatened wasn't enough for Nick Fury.
And so we killed an important character to the lead. It comes from the serial killer, like puts him in the fridge. Green Lantern did it with Kyle Rayner, I think. Just kind of like, okay.
I was also confused by her death because, like, before the bombs go off, her glasses end up off. So I'm like,
Why did you take them off?
well, I was just like, this is really weird editing, or that's not actually her. I'm assuming it's not actually her.
Well, I'm assuming she's not dead, which
I
is
assume
also annoying because
nothing.
it's just a death fake out then, which
Yeah. I think it's definitely a death fake out.
which is maybe more annoying because it just happens way too much now.
I will say about the end, though, because I do enjoy that ending bit, not necessarily with Maria dying. That could take that or leave that. But, like, where he's constantly changing, like, I did enjoy that. Like, I thought it was fun. I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, you know, Fury's in this weird predicament where, you know, he's always had the upper hand, and now he's like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm way out of my depth here. I also thought the guy who plays Gravik, without saying a whole lot, he's definitely got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of that is just the way he looks to me. I don't know why, but just has a little bit of my eyes go to him when he's on the screen going
Yeah.
on, which is nice. And I'm just curious why he's the leader. I don't know. I think the whole show for me is going to depend on Gravik and whether he ends up being good. Because everybody else I've seen before, I feel like.
I feel like a part that might be important to me is how many action scenes are we going to put Samuel L. Jackson through? I don't know if his body is up for it anymore.
Well, that's why they got to build that limp in, you know?
Oh my god.
Get it out of the way.
I did, performance-wise, I will say I think this was a fairly strong
I think
cast.
Samuel L. Jackson was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Olivia Colman was great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always down for Mendo.
Yep.
I didn't hate Emilia Clarke, which was nice.
Yeah.
Because usually I can't stand her in things, so that was a welcoming surprise.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think my favorite thing just about the show, though, is just the tone. It feels so refreshing
Yeah.
to not
Yeah.
be a whoop-de-doo.
Well, that and it's just not nothing but CGI, like on every shot. Like there's still a lot of it, right? But it's not like
It
we're
deals
in
with,
the
like,
quantum realm. It's like, no, we're in Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
cool.
The CG is like, hey, I'm turning into a scroll now.
Yeah.
Or an explosion.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. I live with that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's the hundreds of the thing we're not mentioning is like they shot this in England and turned it into Moscow.
Yeah.
But like that's the minor stuff that looks great and you don't even think about it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel gross
Yeah.
when you watch it, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not constantly in front of a green screen the whole time.
Yep.
So
For sure.
no, it was, I don't know, kind of like what Luke's saying. Tonally, it's a welcome, return.
I think it's a serviceable first episode.
Yeah.
It is going to do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of expository, letting us know where we're at, and you should very rarely, very, 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 very rarely judge a show by only its first episode. So I'll definitely be tuning in. We're doing the series, so I'm tuning in every week.
you
But
have
even if
to
I
tune in.
wasn't, I would still tune in for episode 2 and 3 just to see kind of where the
Things
show is
go, yeah.
heading.
I hate the first episode of Andor. I hate it. I think it's horrible. That show is awesome.
Yeah, we're on a 6-week journey.
Only 6 weeks
Mm-hmm.
or 6 episodes.
Yep.
Kind of nice.
I did like that Nick in the chat mentioned Nick Fury is still 3 steps ahead. That's why I didn't beat her in chess. He knew it wasn't her. Yeah, it could be. That could be a whole scroll thing, but I do think that that's a very obvious foreshadowing of Nick Fury seeming out of place, but probably not being completely out of it. Or if he
Just
is
kinda
now,
letting them think
if he
that.
is now, by the end of the show, he won't be.
Yeah.
You know, it's about how does he get back to being 3 steps ahead. Be interesting to see what direction they take it in. So, all right, are we ready to transition over to our regular episode?
No.
We got to review The Flash this week. No, you're not.
I'm not
Luke?
ready. We need to just sit here for like 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 more minutes?
Yep.
Oh, 5 minutes of meditative silence. Ready?
Please
set,
no.
go.